boys club gets busted.
In Hollywood, when a producer says, you know, I want to help you, what they usually mean is off with your clothes.
It's the book that has Hollywood horrified.
And once I got involved with the celebrities, I ended up getting to drugs, prostitution, selling my body, selling my soul, selling my whole life.
Which stars get tarnished? Find out in an exclusive interview with the women who've got the dirty lowdown on the biggest names in showbiz.
The high-profile and high-powered celebrities who populate Hollywood have long attracted beautiful women. Some of the stars have an insatiable appetite, which often extends to some of the darker parts of town. Caught in controversial situations have been some of the biggest stars in the business, and some of those who just want to be. And for every young and naive girl who comes to Hollywood with stars in her eyes, there are many stories of shattered dreams and broken hearts. Hearts which litter the famed Hollywood Hills.
Hi, everybody. Welcome to the program. Thank you. Thanks. Thank you. Today, we're going to focus the entire program on a book, a book that is exposing one of Hollywood's dirty, dark secrets. It's called You'll Never Make Love in This Town Again. It's written by 4 women, all of whom claim they were part of Tinseltown's elite at one level, at least. The ladies on our stage have written a kiss and tell all, but their story does more than blow the lid off an informal but notorious Hollywood boys club. These ladies are naming names. They're sending some of our favorite celebrities running for cover. 2 of the 4 authors join me right now. They've written this book that has rocked Hollywood. They are sisters, 2 sisters who have grown up in the shadow of the limelight, at least. Robin and Liza Greer claim to have dated some of the biggest stars in the business. I have no reason to doubt them. They say that this sizzling memoir was written in the hopes that the next young star-struck girl who goes to Hollywood might be saved some of the pitfalls that they encountered. Ladies, welcome. I'm really delighted to have you. I say that with only slight trepidation. I hope that as we explore some of your startling revelations, we keep it in perspective. And, you know, I guess you could name names if you think it's critically important. But the name I want to name first, Robin, it's a name, you know, that we've all become intimately familiar with over the course of the last couple of years. She's much better known in death, sadly, than she ever was in life. The former Mrs. O.J. Simpson, Nicole Brown Simpson. What exactly was your relationship with Nicole and O.J.?
Well, I met Nicole when we were both quite young. My ex-husband was friends with O.J.
Mark Slotkin.
Mark Slotkin. And Nicole was living with O.J. at the time.
Mark is still friends with O.J.?
Yes. Yes, he is.
I visited the home you helped build up in the hills.
Right. And so that's how I met Nicole originally. And we became close friends at that time. And in fact, I, along with a couple other friends, gave her baby shower for Sydney. In fact, she named Sydney after a character that I played on Ryan's Hope.
So you were in Ryan's Hope, the soap opera. You in Falcon Crest as well.
Yes, yeah.
Opposite Lorenzo Lamas.
Right.
Okay, before I get off on that tangent, I want to stick with O.J. and Nicole. Did you know she was an abused woman?
I was somewhat aware of it, although it was very well hidden.
How? How would they hide that?
Well, first of all, she broke a lot of appointments at the last minute because of illness. And the other thing was, this is often, or at least one time that I can recall, I went over to her house and she wouldn't come out of the room. And O.J. wouldn't let me go up to see her and said that she was, had cramps and didn't want to see anyone. And I thought it was just sort of strange at the time.
What was your first reaction when you heard that she had been murdered?
Well, first of all, there's shock. But by that time, I well knew the other side of their relationship, the darker side of their relationship, because when Nicole and O.J. first separated, I was the one she came to, and I'm the one who found her, the Gretna Green house, and got her out of the Rockingham house. And so by that time, I was very much aware of the problems in their relationship. And then by the time of the murders, the week preceding it, there was a lot of very dark and scary things going on. And so I was pretty sure he had done it at that time.
So he did it? Was that the first reaction?
That was my reaction.
Do you stand by that now that a jury has acquitted him?
Well, I believe he's acquitted. I still, in my heart, believe that's true. But I respect the jury's decision.
So you think he did it, but you respect the jury's decision?
Yes, and I think that is between him and God now, and I don't have any power over that, so.
Okay, let's talk about your life, and then I guess we can segue into your sister's life. Liza lived a much different life. Robin, as we just indicate, a pretty well-known actress, a lady who had a primetime soap opera opposite Lorenzo Lamas, a man she later fell in love with. Ryan's Hope, you know, playing the character Sydney, who later became the name used by Nicole and OJ for their young daughter. Liza, on the other hand, drugs, the fast lane, prostitution.
Yep, I was surrounded by celebrities all the time in the acting business, the music business. When I was around 13 years old, I mean, I had in my younger years, I had a lot of problems, family problems, and I think that when women go into prostitution, it usually stems from that. There's usually something really emotionally going on with them, and that's what happened to me. But once I got involved with the celebrities, I ended up getting to drugs, prostitution, selling my body, selling my soul, selling my whole life. Pretty much went completely down the drain because I couldn't get out. After I got in, I felt so disgusted with myself. And, you know, it's so frightening because when you go in, you think these people are going to take care of you and they destroy you. It's almost as if they didn't care what happened to me as long as they were happy getting what they wanted, and then they counted me a buck and I walked away and I ended up snorting it up my nose or basing it. Did just about anything to try and make myself feel better.
Your dad, I understand, did produce softcore porn films.
Yes, he did.
Did
And
that
as well as commercials,
As well
too.
as commercials, of course. I want to give the balance.
I mean,
Yeah.
But did that help you, or, I mean, hurt you in the
It
sense
hurt
that
me.
led you to
Yeah.
the wrong people, people who abused you?
Yes, a matter of fact, in one of his films, when I was about 13, 14 years old, my second sexual experience was with a prostitute that he had been working with on a film, and that he was doing. And he ended up letting her take me off, and I ended up getting raped sexually by both of them, her pimp and herself. And they were giving me acid, and I couldn't get home to my father, and when he called, they muffled my mouth. So I couldn't scream. He didn't seem to want to talk to me, and the next day, I was, for about 2 weeks, I was completely, I would say, numb. I couldn't speak, I couldn't talk, I just cried, and you know, all that I definitely feel had something to do with all the soft porns and growing up in that kind of lifestyle.
So by what age were you a full-fledged prostitute?
16.
By 16?
Yes. My
Did you
first
know that,
experience
Robin?
was 16.
I did not know
Well, a
that.
little bit, maybe like maybe 17. It had to be a little bit later than that because that's when I went out with Jack.
I knew that she had a serious drug problem. And in fact, you know, was responsible for getting her into some rehabs and trying to get her help. And she was suicidal. And I was very concerned about her. I didn't know about the prostitution until later on.
We mentioned, were you shooting drugs as well?
I actually never shot. I shot drugs once. I didn't talk about it in the book because I only did it once, and it wasn't a. It was heroin, and it didn't make me feel good. I didn't like it, and then after I saw myself do that, I even went farther down, and I thought, well, if I do this, I know I'm going to die. And I mean, I knew right then.
Didn't you try to take your own life?
Yes, several times. I've got scars all the way up my wrists, both sides. This side, you know, the funny thing is I did it the wrong way. At
Hold
first,
on, here, Chris got it.
I mean, it's not funny, but I did it the wrong way at first, and
This is horrifying.
then I tried the other way.
How old were you when you did that?
13, 14, 15, 16, I mean 20.
Stop.
Yeah, but you know, that's what happens when you get involved in what I was involved in.
The powerless always know the powerful better than vice versa, which is why they're pressured to be silent. In You'll Never Make Love in This Town Again, 4 women, including these 2, break the code and tell us what the emperor is really like with no clothes on. That's by Gloria Steinem. So the book obviously has a serious intent, even though it's written in a kind of almost tabloid style.
Right.
Why? Why are you exposing the so-called boys' club?
Well, my reason for it is that there's a big boys' club in
And what is that boys'
Hollywood.
club? What is it?
It's just all the higher-ups in the business, producers, directors, writers, actors, stars, and they all cater to each other's whims, and a lot of their whims have to do with using women for their own sexual appetites. And a lot of young girls get trapped by this, and their lives are ruined as a...
Were you trapped by Lorenzo Lamas? Or did you trap each other?
Well, yeah, I'd say that's a little bit different. I mean, the situation with Lorenzo was such that I was working on a show with him. I mean, we all know what he looks like. And so
Gorgeous man?
Yeah, I mean, so it taught me a big lesson. Most importantly, never date anyone prettier than you are. But,
During my affair with Lorenzo, Mark, your husband Mark Slotkin,
yeah.
continued to fight to keep our marriage together. At one point, while Lorenzo was over visiting me, Mark left a note on Lorenzo's car requesting a meeting.
Right.
Lorenzo agreed, and they met in a park. During this meeting, Mark begged Lorenzo to leave me alone. But you went through with the divorce anyway.
Right.
But one day, this man who couldn't live without me, Lorenzo, who had stolen me from the arms of my stable, devoted husband, Mark Slotkin, dumped me. There was no warning. He simply told me he didn't love me anymore.
Well, that's true. Lorenzo is a very romantic man, and he loves you completely and obsessively and for life, and you're the most wonderful thing in the world, you know, and he loves you till he just doesn't anymore. And I call him a serial heartbreaker. But I think that it's my fault, because obviously I shouldn't have had the affair in the first place. So, you know, I can only blame myself for that. And I pretty much deserved what I got.
What happened to your career, Robin?
It was, well, I worked more up until that point. After Falcon Crest fired me, in part, I guess because of the breakup with Lorenzo, I did a lot of comedy things and guest stars and things like that, but nothing that long term again. And so
how's life now?
Oh, dying on the vine. No, no, it's...
Are you afraid that you'll be shunned now that you've written this book?
Shunned? I won't work as an actress again, I'm sure.
I mean, there are 150 of the most powerful names in Hollywood.
Pretty stupid, wasn't it? Yeah, but I think that...
And you allege some truly perverse behavior.
Oh, very perverse behavior. I think it's important. And I think it's important for other young women to read this book before they go to Hollywood, so they know what to expect. When a producer says, in Hollywood, when a producer says, you know, I want to help you, what they usually mean is off with your clothes.
I want to help you equals off with your clothes. Okay.
So that's what the point is.
Busting, I'm sorry.
Yeah, I'm sorry.
After you.
No, I'm just saying that I want to make that point to young women that go there thinking they're going to be actresses and models, to beware.
Beware. Busting the Boys Club, we're calling this one. Breaking Hollywood's code of silence, the focus of this edition of For All.
But it was only the girls, always, who had been beaten up. This is the first time the guys are going to get theirs. They treat the women like they hand them around like pieces of meat.
It's such a double standard. It's such a boys' club. It's really, I never realized it till I was put in, it's such a man's world.
Such a man's world.
It really is.
Heidi Fleiss, the infamous Hollywood madam. And what she's talking about is the fact that here she is, the madam, the kind of go-between, the prostitute on the one hand and the John on the other. Heidi is now facing 3.5 years in state pen and at least that long in federal prison for running her business. Not one single John will spend not one single minute behind bars. Robin Greer, your comment?
Yeah, that's a little unfair, I'd say, but that's very typical. I mean, that the pimp is obviously charged and not the client necessarily.
If one woman told the truth, the world would split open. So the four authors can definitely split open Hollywood. That's exactly what happens in You'll Never Make Love in This Town Again. This book also explains why women-hating movies are foisted on the world. Women-hating men are making them.
Yeah, I mean, even a movie as homogenized as Pretty Woman. I mean, what is it doing? It's glorifying prostitution.
Glorifying the life Liza led.
Right, which was not a pretty life. It was, you know, ugly woman.
My question for you guys is, you said that you don't have any acting jobs now. Is that the reason for the book? Or is it?
No. Well, I couldn't say that, no. I mean, I think now I'll never work again, probably, but my career was somewhat waning anyway. I mean, I still worked from time to time.
Our next guest here to amplify and maybe put in perspective some of what we've already been talking about is the noted columnist from the New York Post, the lady who has often chronicled the scandals of Hollywood and other places in between. Welcome, Cindy Adams. Darling? We haven't gotten to the names, maybe we won't, Cindy, but how is Hollywood responding to this book?
Hollywood is responding. They're up in arms, they're down in the gutter, which is where a lot of them belong. But mostly, we're always beating up the girls. How about the guys for a change? It's the first time the guys are going to get theirs.
One of the people we can, with a certain amount of surety, mention, he has just passed away, the
Don
fabled
Simpson.
producer Don Simpson, who did Flashdance and the Eddie Murphy, what was that again?
Beverly Hills Cop?
Right, Beverly Hills Cop 2 and the Tom Cruise racing car movie.
He was one of the, he might have risen high in his profession, but he was one of the lowest human beings the world has ever known. This book, everybody is complaining about, everybody is threatening their lawyers. Timothy Hutton's lawyer right away called and said it's libel per se. Has he filed anything? No, he hasn't. And the reason is the publisher has a hell of a lot more that he didn't say that was printed. You heard from the Beatle, George Harrison. George Harrison, whom I believe Liza had been with, and George Harrison was plinking the ukulele all the time.
Okay, yes.
Never stopped, never lost a beat while he was plinking the ukulele, and walked away, never said thank you, didn't even know her name. So before the book came out, Geraldo, before, the lawyer said he's going to slap an injunction so that this book can come out. The book's now been out 2 weeks. It's on its way to a bestseller list. What's the lawyer done? Hey, nothing. Why? Because they know they can't do anything. But this has been going on in Hollywood since time immemorial.
Give us the perspective.
Well, this is the first time the guys are going to get theirs. They treat the women like they hand them around like pieces of meat. That's a terrible thing, the way they act.
Do you fear the boys' club yourself?
Me?
You.
Do I think I will be ostracized for taking the part of these girls? Sure, that's the only way they can get back at it, but I don't care. I'm not saying that they're wonderful, that they should get a trophy for what they did, nor am I saying that the publisher is doing social work, Michael Wiener, by doing this. But what the hell, this is going on, and I do think it could stop in some cases. You know, one of the reasons it goes on so much in Hollywood, because in Hollywood, you have to watch, it's a profession where you must watch your shape, you must watch your weight. At least there aren't too many calories in sex. So everybody is...
But, you know, I went to a party with a famed Hollywood producer, one of my dearest friends. I won't name him. The party was hosted by a notorious Hollywood producer who formerly headed a studio.
Bob Evans.
No comment.
Good going.
No comment at all. Warren Beatty was at this party. Actually, Bob Shapiro was at the party. It was a party in honor of a famed photographer. There wasn't a woman there.
Helmut Newton.
There were virtually no women there. All the women were beautiful, most of them under 30, and, you know, shapely, well-dressed. Isn't there plenty of responsibility to go around? Aren't many of the women in search of, and don't many of the women, just as the men exploit their power and their money, don't the women exploit their bodies and their looks?
Yeah, there's plenty of responsibility to go around, but let's have the men take at least a small percentage of it.
Good point. Good point. And on that note, let me introduce via satellite from Los Angeles a dear friend of our program. She is Lois Lee. She is the founder and executive director of Children of the Night. Lois actually wrote the introduction to the book and has long worked with women who wind up on the streets of Hollywood. Lois Lee, ladies and gentlemen. Lois, you're such a serious, hard-working social worker in a sense. You're a savior to so many. Why get involved in a book as controversial as this one?
Well, because there is the conspiracy of silence, and I think that women are paid not for the sex they provide in prostitution, but to keep their mouths shut. And I don't think that's fair. The women are the ones who are incarcerated. They're the ones who are socially ostracized by society. They can't have boyfriends. They can't tell their families what they're doing. And they really get the brunt of the problem. And I think that this book is real important because it's the first time that women have come out willing to name the customers, talk about what it is that they do. And I would hope that the women in Hollywood who are producers would look at this and would support these women because it's a very brave step that they've taken. And I will say that it's opening up publishers of books, it's opening up other women who have been victimized. There's another book that's in the works right now, not about movie stars that are having sex with prostitutes, but it's about the Beverly Hills establishment involving one of the major country clubs in Beverly Hills. Really? And I think this needs to come out. We need to get it on the table. It's a social problem. It's not going to go away. It's unfair just to blame the women. Let's find another way to manage it with the health department. I think the police have a very important role in this because these women are oftentimes victimized by child molesters, rapists, serial murderers, before those people go out and practice on other women. And certainly these books have been around. Look, the important people know what's in the books. The police have seen these books for hundreds of years. And the district attorney's office have copies of the books when they prosecute these cases. So why keep this silence in terms of the rest of society cannot see the books? I mean, I understand the book's selling like hotcakes in Los Angeles. I have friends calling me to see if I can get a hold of it. I had 2 copies. A friend grabbed one. The other one was on my program director's desk for 2 minutes before an LAPD vice cop said, I've got to have it, I've got to have it.
And we've got a couple of LAPD vice cops in our studio. And Lois, I'll shortly be introducing them. Let me take a break now. Much more on Busting the Boys Club. Breaking Hollywood's Code of Silence continues. Stay tuned.
If you have a comment about this show or have a show idea, you can call our interactive phone lines at 1-900-8-VIEWER. All calls 99 cents a minute.
I didn't invent sex. What am I going to do? Take a billionaire and force him how to spend his money? It's hard to explain because it's so stupid. It's sex. Everyone has sex. Everybody, no matter what, and it's not going to stop, you know?
Heidi Fleiss, the Hollywood Madam. Actually, one of your co-authors, Tiffany, actually was one of the witnesses against Heidi Fleiss. Some say I was a big part of Heidi Fleiss's downfall. It's true that I was one of the lead witnesses in the case against her, but I feel like she asked for what she got. I was only one of many people she instead of licking my wounds, rolling over, and playing dead. However, I turned state's evidence against her. Wow. Did you ever testify against anyone like?
No, I haven't, and also
Why not?
well, first of all, I don't really condone. I feel that Heidi Fleiss, or just people like Heidi Fleiss, it's like selling bodies, you know, and so I personally don't appreciate that. I think it's wrong. But no, I never turned over or rolled over on anyone because I was never busted. For one thing, I was never busted by any cops or anything like that. And also, you know, I think it's because of the people I worked with. You know, I didn't work for Heidi Fleiss. I worked for an upper echelon, and say of you know, pimp and a madam that was paid like 10 grand. 20 grand for a girl for a night. The limousines were coming. You were constantly protected. You had bodyguards on you. She did none of that.
You know, I mentioned the disparity between the state's action, criminal action against men, as opposed to the girls involved, the prostitutes involved, the women. State the case in terms of statistics. What do you know in terms of, you know, are there many more men involved in terms of being customers than women who are servicing these fellows? Who are the men? Where do they come from?
Oh, the men go across class lines. Laborers, truck drivers, salesmen, I mean, depending on what they can afford to pay. Policemen, lawyers are the most common of the professions in terms of picking up street prostitutes. But you find rabbis, priests, I mean, everyone. 95% tend to be married, 75% are white. The arrests in Los Angeles tend to be 10% of their total arrests are customers, and I would say that LAPD is very progressive in this particular area. And they have a new loitering law that they're enforcing where the prostitute actually gets 3 warnings and the customer gets 1 warning, which I'm very happy to see. But we really need to do more. I mean, Abraham Lincoln said, if you want to get rid of a bad law, enforce it equally. And if these men went to jail at the equal rate that the women went to jail, prostitution wouldn't be against the law. We'd be forced to look at another way of controlling it and of dealing with the problems that come with it, because we're not going to eliminate it. And Washington, D.C. is very active with prostitutes. There's even stories among call girls that when a Democrat comes into office, that the Democrat call girls go back to Philadelphia, the Secret Service move them out, and the Republican girls come in.
Oh, God. We're in an election year, too.
Yeah.
Susan Crane-Bacos, an author and journalist, joins us to give us her perspective. The 2 undercover officers I mentioned, Officer Jason Berg and Sergeant Alicia Woolen, are from the L.A. Vice Squad. They're real undercover, investigative, tandem cops. They work the dark side of the City of Angels. The only criticism, the real criticism, is you let the guys skate and you bust the women more often than not. I'm going to let you respond to the criticism. Susan, you can put the book in some kind of, statistical perspective. And we also have one of the guys mentioned in the book on page 246. The evening had begun with me dressing in a sexy, tight-fitting, low-cut leopard print dress for my hot date with Keith Zlomzowicz. I met Keith in Aspen a few weeks earlier. Keith would later become known to the world as one of Nicole Brown Simpson's ex-lovers, but at the time he was my lover, and a good one. Well, at least we were a good one.
Actually, I'm sorry, pardon me. That girl was engaged to Keith.
Tiffany was engaged to you?
That's not a real name.
I hope not. I mean, not that I have anything against the name Tiffany. It's just that she was a prostitute.
I was trying.
Oh, you don't have a microphone on, do you?
No.
Stand by, we'll be right to you. Bustin' the Boys Club continues, breaking Hollywood's code of silence. Any girl who's thinking of a life, this life in the streets, take another look at Liza's wrist. This is how glamorous it is, folks. Look at the glamour of life in the fast lane. Welcome back, everybody. Busting the code of silence. Alicia, Sergeant Woolen, how do you respond to the charge that cops generally are more interested in busting the prostitute than the John?
Actually, that's not true.
Tell us.
We recognize that the tricks are also an equivalent part of the problem, so we address that side as well. We take a lot of enforcement action against the tricks as well as the prostitutes, because the community complains about it, not just about the prostitutes, but also the tricks are a large part of the problem. And prior to coming here today, our division had a 2-day task force which was focused specifically upon the tricks that would solicit the prostitutes.
That's the street level. When you hear this about the high level, the high rollers, the high and mighty, how do you react?
Well, Liza's situation typifies what we come across even working a different part of Los Angeles. But prostitution and what goes on really crosses over a wide variety of the population, not just on the higher scale of life, but also on the lower economic
When
level.
you see how Divine Brown parlayed her night with Hugh Grant into a certain level of celebrity, certainly infamy and money, how do you respond?
Her actions have really caused her to be a misleaded dream. That's not a dream. That's not a dream that anyone coming to Hollywood should really have. Answering ads, saying anything that says easy money is the equivalent, quick money is the equivalent to having sex for money. And people really need to be aware of that that's not a way to stardom.
It's a false representation of what reality is really like, especially if you decide to do something like that. And the way Liza put it, and what Lois has discussed.
Wait, any girl, again, Chris, please, your wrist. Any girl who's thinking of a life, this life in the streets, take another look at Liza's wrists. Look at the glamour of life in the fast lane. Keith, you and I have become friends, have we not?
Yes, we have.
We hang out together, we enjoy each other's company, we tell tall tales, but I never knew that. Why a prostitute?
I was trying to take someone who I thought had been abused by the system, and the fact that I was in the system, as far as I knew what went on, I didn't partake in any of it myself, but I knew what was going on in Hollywood. I saw what she had been through and the direction her life was turning.
Tell me
I tried to
what
take her away from that, and I tried to make her into something that she wasn't.
Be her surrogate here. Tiffany's not here. What had she gone through?
she had gone through what she's chronicled in the book. She had told me about numerous incidents, and you know, Don Simpson and the you know, the abuse and the just the strange sex and the weird stuff. And I said, listen, you don't need to be doing this. You're far too intelligent. She speaks like 4 or 5 languages. She plays a piano. She's got a great voice. She has a lot of talent. And I saw that. And I guess just deep down inside, I said, maybe I can help in some small way. And I tried to take her out of that society she was in and expose her to a different society of people that were more down to earth and more natural and could possibly help her legitimately get acting jobs and modeling jobs as opposed to the dark side which you're chronicling today.
You failed.
Yeah, miserably, I'd say. Yeah.
I can say something to that.
Go ahead, Liza.
Actually, the reason why I think that most girls fail in prostitution, I mean, when they're prostitutes is because
Well, he failed in
they're
a
not,
rescue.
Right, but see, that's very rare, okay? I mean, I don't know, 1 out of 100 men I know would even bother to even date me twice, okay, if they found out that I was a prostitute. And I go through that all the time, and I commend him for that, because this doesn't mean that you're a bad person because you're a prostitute. It means that you went the bad road, the bad way, and you need to get out. And that's exactly what most of us are looking for.
If nobody helps you, you've got no chance.
Yeah, it's like if people don't say, hey, you know what, you had a hard time. I understand that. You know, I mean, nobody's perfect. Let's try and get you out of this and show you the right way. Most of them will come out of it. I did. I came out of it, but I had to do it on my own. You know, I did it on my own, and my family helped me. But it took me years and years before I could find one person, which I did, my boyfriend, Brian McMillan, who took me out of it and said, you know what, I love you for who you are, and I'm going to work on this. And boy, is it tough.
Who loses,
you know?
Susan?
Who loses? Because she lost, obviously. The women lose, I think, more than anybody else, more than the customers. The customers lose their money, and that's it.
Mm-hmm.
The women lose. And men will keep going to prostitutes because they have the power. They have the power to buy the sexual fantasy that they want. There's little social disapproval when they do.
Some of them don't
They get away
even
with
pay
it.
these men who are so rich and so famous. I mean, Jack Nicholson, who's supposed to be a great lover, supposedly just said, okay, I'll take care of your cab fare, and then didn't. That was after he used whatever it was they were giving him. And all of these people who come to Hollywood, Hollywood is a terrifying place. You come there, there's so much power, there's so much money, there's so much everything. People have millions to spend. They've had every trick, every drug, every designer experience. They're into degradation, and there's nothing left to degrade except human life. They go down, and these people are making movie after movie and resenting if you say they're doing it. Warren Beatty is livid that this came out. He likes to say that he is a great stud and he's a great lover. He has been absolutely forcing these girls into disavowing what has been said. But they have taken lie detector tests. They have taken video. They have been on video cameras saying it. They have these books have been vetted page by lawyers. There have been private investigators who have corroborated the stories. It's been more than one person who's saying it. These guys did do it. I don't think anybody should have written such a book, but it's been written. They got to stand up like men and take it.
And we've got to take a commercial. Stay. We will be right back, busting the boys' club.
You know, it's kind of something I obviously put myself into, but yet if I had somebody there that was older than me, like the men that I was with, I would think that maybe they would not want to hurt me but help me.
I want to alert Alicia and Jason, Detective Berg and Sergeant, I forgot your last name, but I want you to tell us among your most memorable, melancholy stories of youngsters that you've discovered out there. But I'll take some questions first and let you ruminate. Yes?
Yes, I'd like to know, being as names were named, did you have trouble getting a publisher to publish the book?
I actually was the one that found the publisher.
I like Michael Veen. He's a good friend of mine.
He's been wonderful to me.
Great guy.
Wonderful to me.
Yes.
I was just wondering, if you're no longer prostituting today, how are you earning a living?
Good question.
I'm a waitress, and that's what I do.
Do you want to tell us the restaurant?
Well, actually, right now I'm not, because I'm working here. But I was Santa Pietro's restaurant, which I met George Santa Pietro, and then
George Santa Pietro, you said some terrible things about him.
No, yeah, I did. And
but he did give her a job.
No, actually, I got that job myself. He made me quit. No, but that's what I do. I waitress, and then I'm going back to nursing. I would like to nurse.
Yes, your two sisters seem to be very close. How is it you did not know your sister's activities, her drug activities?
Well, I was aware of her activities, and Liza and I have been through a lot together. I got her the most help I could. I got her into rehabs and tried to get her help, psychological help. I wasn't really aware of the prostitution. That was something that was a new revelation, and that's why I felt compelled to write the book in the first place.
Officer Jason Berg, Sergeant Alicia Woolen. Alicia, tell me a story.
Well, I don't really have one in particular, but I think working my vice assignment to routinely see day in and day out girls starting at the age such as Liza did at 16 or 17 years of age, and when we talk to them and interview them after an arrest to hear their story and where they give us the facts of how they've gotten started.
Oh, this is you at work. Right? Hardcover did a story about it?
Yes, they did about a week ago. Okay, that's fine. Why don't you pull over there and we'll go.
Get out of the car! Get out of the car!
So that's the John?
Right, that was the John, and actually this is our Van Nuys Vice unit. This is my unit.
So you work in the valley mostly?
Right.
Jason?
Well, throughout the city.
Right.
I have hours and hours of tapes of young girls from Texas, Utah, Idaho, with the same exact story. You can change the name Liza to Julie to Mary to any name. And for me to have places like Children of the Night where I could send these people.
I love Children of the Night. I think Dr. Lois Lee is the most magnificent savior on the streets of that town.
Yeah, really. We've used her. And to hear her story, you know, people always say it can't happen to my family. When I call someone's mother for the first time and say, your daughter's in Hollywood and I have her arrested for prostitution, the parents absolutely amazed.
Can you imagine?
They're the last to know.
Can you imagine? Busting the Boys Club continues. Stay tuned. We're breaking Hollywood's code of silence.
For a transcript, please send $6 to Geraldo Transcripts, care of Burrell's, P.O. Box 7, Livingston, New Jersey, 07039. Or call 1-800-777-TEXT.
You'll never make love in this town again, with apologies to, is her name Julia Phillips, right, who wrote You'll Never Eat Lunch in This Town Again? So it's a semi-rip-off, tongue-in-cheek, but definitely terrifying the male population of Tinseltown. Yes, ma'am.
Robin, since you were an actress, did you ever get involved with the same sort of things that your sister did?
Not really. I sort of took the high road on that because I started acting so young.
Hi, I'd like to congratulate Robin on her new life that she's
starting.
Liza, okay. I'd like to congratulate you on your new life. You look good. You know? And I would like to ask both you and your sister, did you sleep with these famous people knowing that maybe one day you will have a bestseller book on the market?
You know, it's funny, I have to answer that, but when, you know, a long time ago, I was always wanting to be a writer, but I never thought it would be about me, and I never thought it would be about the people I was with. But I guess it's working.
I bet they love it, don't they? Yeah.
Great, yeah.
I'm not saying it's totally the woman's fault, but it's not like these men, like, had a gun to your head. I mean, did you want to be a part of Hollywood so much that you're willing to go through all that?
Yeah, that's true.
Cindy and I have to admit that is exactly true, is it not, Liza?
And I will admit that that's true, too, because actually, you know, I feel that I'm responsible for myself, and that what I did was, you know, it's kind of something I obviously put myself into, but yet if I had somebody there that was older than me, like the men that I was with, I would think that maybe they would not want to hurt me but help me. So that's why I look at them as if maybe they were wrong also.
Okay. Oh, absolutely. It's so. You know, people like me come from such a protected, loving household. But I've seen people like that out in Hollywood. They would do anything, anything. They would do anything. They would do anybody to be under the stars, to get there.
But I was looking for love and affection, too. It wasn't all about me wanting to be a star.
How long was your career?
Pardon? I
don't know, call girl? What do you call it?
It actually was only for like about a year or two. I mean, I did about maybe 6 or 7 prostitution, 6 or 7 dates, you know. And the thing is that because I decided to get out of it as quick as I got into it, and that's because I was so frightened and so scared by it. And I knew that I was better than that. I wanted to be so much better than that, so I got out.
Okay, let me read the publisher's disclaimer, and we'll incorporate it and make it ours. The publisher of this book has made every effort to ensure the accuracy of all material contained in You'll Never Make Love in This Town Again. Each of the 4 contributors to the book, Robin and Liza, who join us, Linda and Tiffany, were given polygraph tests by an outside independent firm to determine the veracity of their stories. All were certified by the examiners as having told the truth. In addition, all of the contributors' accounts were verified by Peter Mayhew of Mayhew Associates, a private investigation firm, and the manuscript was reviewed twice by Louis Petrick, Esquire, an attorney specializing in First Amendment law at Leopold, Petrick & Smith, to determine the validity of legal claims. Although 2 names have been changed, all of the information contained herein is, to the best of the editor's and publisher's knowledge, accurate. Okay, let me take a break. We'll be right back, folks.
If you have a comment about this show or have a show idea, you can call our interactive phone lines at 1-900-8-VIEWER. All calls 99 cents a minute.
First, I want to apologize to Susan Crane-Bacchus. She's a fine speaker and a great author of What Men Really Want. We just got so crammed up. I want to invite Susan back, and certainly the 2 officers from LA Vice, 2 hero cops. Alicia, Sergeant Woolen, I should say, had 1,000 arrests last year, and Jason Berg, Detective Berg, is also a good name. Love to have you 2 back. Keith, I'll see you around town. Before I say goodbye, Cindy, we love you. Before I say goodbye to Robin and her sister Liza, there was an irony, a coincidence that happened in Robin's life that I think we should relate to people, involving the Menendez brothers, or at least Eric, the younger Menendez brother, on the night their parents were so brutally slaughtered, allegedly by them. What happened?
Well, they were living in the house that my ex-husband and I built and lived in, and we got divorced.
That's where the murders took place?
Pardon?
That's where the murders took place?
Yes.
Wow.
And we got divorced, and my husband sold the house to the Menendez family. So after their parents were killed, my husband befriended them, and he was being sort of parental and spending time with them. And my husband and I were seeing each other, dating again. And so one night we were having dinner with Eric at Mark's new place, and we thought maybe we'd go see a movie. I felt bad for him. I thought, he just lost his family and everything. And so, not knowing, this is before, obviously, they were arrested. And I said, let's go see a movie. What movie you want to see? He said, let's go see Dad, or Immediate Family. And I thought, well, maybe that's how he deals with his grief, a little black humor.
And your reaction when he was arrested?
I was pretty shocked, to be honest with you. What's weird is the next day after we had dinner is when he made his confession to Azil.
To the shrink?
The very next day.
Wow.
It must have been something I said.
Thank you. Good luck. You'll never make love in this town again.
Thank you.
Dr. Lois Lee, ladies and gentlemen, for Children of the Night. Lois, thank you. See you next time, everybody. Bye-bye.